So when I first started in a hair salon and when I was in school, I was always told, in order to build your clientele quickly, you need to pre-book. So as soon as you have a client, you walk them up to the counter and get them to pre-book on the spot. And that's the practice that we always had in the salon. That's the practice that we would have in school. We wanted to encourage people to pre-book, pre-book, pre-book. And so I became the pre-booking queen. I pre-booked every single client that I possibly could. But what I found was a lot of times there's reasons why you might not want to do this. And I do think that it is a good thing to do as a new stylist, but if you're starting to see the problems that come with it, and I'll talk about those in a second, that might not be the best thing to do, but I'll tell you what you can do instead that will help you guarantee that you have clients in the future and guarantee that your books are going to be full in the future, even if you let them go out of the salon without pre-booking on the spot. So the first major reason that I would advise against pre-booking is the fact that a lot of the time, and I would say for me, it'd be like 50% of the time they didn't even show up. And that was like really hard to handle. It was really embarrassing. And then not only was it embarrassing and just kind of hurt my ego too much, but it was also frustrating because I was losing so much money. I would have clients who wanted to get in that I would have to turn away because I had this appointment pre-booked and they wouldn't show up. And sometimes it'd even be for a very long appointment, like balayage or like a color service or something. And so many of them just would not show up. Now, of course, there's things that you could do to try and prevent no-shows and cancellations and stuff, but ultimately, doesn't it kind of bother you that people just don't really want to show up? Because if they wanted to, they would, right? So I would always find, and this is reason number 2, it was always just very awkward when they would come up with objections, like legitimate objections for why they didn't want to book on the spot. And I would just kind of encourage them to do it anyway, because that's what, I was told to do. And that's, how you build a clientele and how you keep them coming back. So you have to be really salesy and pushy and stuff. So, for example, I was told okay, if they say, they've got a lot of stuff going up, they have to look at their schedule, they're not sure when they could come in. I was trained to say, well, just, book whatever you think intuitively is going to work. And then you can always change it later, or you can always cancel it. And I found that a lot of the time they just did cancel it because they just weren't ready to book at that moment. So I just don't really like to pressure people to do something unless they're super excited about it and they're super sure about it. And the third reason why I really started pulling away from pre-booking people myself is because if they wanted to get out of the appointment, they would just blame you and be like, especially if you have a cancellation policy, because you might be thinking well, I can just have people pre-book and I have a cancellation policy, so I'm not going to lose money, right? Well, if people want to get out of the appointment, they're going to do everything that they want to get, or that they possibly can, to get out of the appointment. For example, they would be like, oh, well, I don't remember booking that, so I don't have to pay the cancellation fee. I don't remember booking it, or I didn't book that service, so my cancellation fee should be less. I literally had this client do this, and it was so frustrating. And she's like, I told her what she needed to do to maintain her appointment, and she asked if I could book it for her, and I was caught up in the moment, and I just did it for her, and sure enough, she's like, oh, I need to cancel it. I'm like, okay, just to remind you, here's my cancellation policy. Oh, but I don't remember booking that long of a service. I just only booked a haircut or something. I thought I only booked a haircut. Do I really have to pay for that? And so you're just going to have to deal with their word against yours. And it just can be really awkward, especially if you're an independent stylist. When you're in a salon and you have a receptionist who kind of absorbs all the awkwardness for you. When you're an independent stylist, it's all on you. You are the representation of the brand. You're the receptionist. You're the artist. So it could be just kind of awkward. You're not going to want to argue with them because that'll just make it so that they'll never come back. So here's what I suggest doing instead if you have any of those problems with pre-booking. I never want to encourage you to not promote yourself and not encourage them to pre-book, but you can just do it in a little bit different way. And what I would do is I did all my booking online. So there was no option for me to actually input, the appointments for them, because I know it could just always lead to them saying, well, I never booked that appointment when they're trying to get out of a cancellation fee. So I made it so all of the appointments had to be booked by the client online. Now, you might say, well, that's so impersonal. Like, I want to be, better with my customer service. I want to help people as much as I possibly can. And that is a really reasonable objection, and I totally agree with that. What I did in order to make sure that I was being as helpful as possible, but letting them ultimately make like the final decision, was I would actually pull up the exact appointment, exact time that they were interested in, and I would say, here, I'll send you this link, and then you can go in there when you're ready and book the appointment. And that just saved me so many no-show hassles, so many, just problems, because it was them. They knew it was them who made the final decision and not me pushing them. And so I would say similar things that you would say when you're trying to pre-book somebody. So yeah, I would, they always teach you to say stuff like that. Well, I have a vacation coming up, and so you got to pre-book. And I try not to be like super pushy like that. I feel like that's super obvious sometimes, that you're just trying to make sure your books are full, but because it's just been done so many times. But I would be like, okay, so this is how you maintain your appointment. You're going to want to come in every 6 weeks. And I would tell them, like, right now, this is what my books look like. So if I was super full, I would make sure to let them know, because that's being helpful to them. And just, like, hey, it is filling up. We are booking out the 6 weeks right now. So it is important to get in now. If you want, I could send you the link to all the appointments that are available around that time frame, so that you can book the one that's going to be, work best for you. And they would say, oh yeah, that would be amazing. Like, that's being super helpful, but still allowing them to make the final decision. Or if they already knew like when they wanted to come in, like some clients are super primed. They've been to hairstylists before, lots of salons before, so they know, like, I need to book my appointment now to make sure that I could get in. So they're like, okay, so they're already looking at their schedule, like, can I book for January 12th, because I know my schedule's open that day. And I would say, so I would look at my schedule. So I do all the work with them. So I'd look at my schedule, see what I have available, and be like, oh, okay, here's an appointment. I'm going to send the link to you. Give you some time, think it over, make sure it's perfect, because I do have a strict cancellation policy. So I don't want to pressure you. I want to make sure that it's a perfect time for you. That was always super helpful to them, so they could kind of think over how they felt about everything, especially if it's their first visit. Sometimes you're not like sure how you feel about everything on your first visit. So it just kind of gave them time to think it over. But I'm still encouraging them to rebook with me. Of course, you always want to do that. But I'm not like so focused on getting them to rebook on the spot. And some people rebooked and some people didn't, or they waited a little bit too long, and sometimes they did miss their chance to get in with me, but they never did it again if that was the case. So I didn't really see any huge fall off because I did it this way, and any fall off of retaining clients that I did see, I wasn't too concerned about, because I was pretty confident that they were going to be the people that would no-show me. So if you have problems with, no-shows, or you just feel awkward trying to pre-book people at the salon, this is a great solution. Help them find the appointment that they want. Encourage them to pre-book, of course, but make sure that they ultimately make the final decision and they book the appointment themselves. You'll avoid so much headache this way. I hope this video was super helpful for you. And if you want to check out any of my other resources, make sure to look in the links in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and let me know what questions you have for me right now, anything I could help you with, or if there's ideas for future videos, just drop them in the comments below. My name's Lauren. Thank you guys so much for watching.